Have you ever been the one who felt it first? The pull that couldn't be explained, the ache that didn't come from longing, but from knowing. You held on to a connection your heart couldn't deny. While he ran, he ghosted, he denied, and chose silence over truth. And now, suddenly he's watching your stories, liking old posts, appearing in your dreams, reaching out when you least expect it, and you're left asking, what changed? Why does the one who ran now feel like he's chasing? In today's video, we're diving deep into the energy behind this shift. This isn't just about a text or a social media like. It's about a reversal in the energetic current between you. We'll explore the signs that reveal when the divine masculine is no longer running, but returning. Is this a real awakening, or a familiar loop in disguise? And more importantly, what energetic shift within you triggered this transformation? By the end of this video, you'll no longer see his return as random. You'll understand that your own growth, healing, and vibrational shift have set this new energy in motion. You'll begin to see your power differently, not as a chaser, but as a mirror that calls the truth forward. This new awareness will empower you to meet this shift with clarity, not confusion, and to choose alignment over attachment. So stay with us until the end, because what's happening now isn't a coincidence. It's a reflection of who you've become, and once you see it clearly, everything changes. Number 1. Reclaiming power and understanding the shift. Have you ever wondered why the moment you finally stop reaching out, when you fall silent, detach, and redirect your energy inward, he suddenly starts to reappear? This isn't a coincidence. It's a sacred shift, a powerful reversal of energy that begins the moment you reclaim your own light. In today's message, we're diving deep into the energetic reasons why the divine masculine starts to chase, often at the exact moment you least expect it. You'll begin to understand why your silence carries more weight than 1,000 spoken words. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop trying to be understood, you actually become more magnetic. Your energy shifts from seeking to radiating, from needing to embodying. And that shift doesn't go unnoticed. On a soul level, he feels it. Even if he can't explain it in words, he senses the loss of your energy, because it was once his comfort, his refuge, even if he didn't appreciate it at the time. But this shift isn't about manipulation. It's not about withholding or playing games. It's about something far more sacred, reclaiming your power. The moment you stop trying to be chosen and instead choose yourself, the universe responds. Energetically, you rise into a vibration that can no longer be overlooked. Your healing becomes a frequency that speaks to his higher self, the part of him that's been asleep, confused, or in denial. Your presence is now felt more powerfully in your absence, and that is what begins to awaken him. This video will help you see what's really happening beneath the surface, beyond the 3D circumstances, beyond the illusions of separation. You'll gain clarity about why the roles begin to reverse, why the one who ran is now drawn back, and how this entire dynamic is part of a divine recalibration. You're not losing anything by letting go, you're actually setting something powerful in motion. By the end of this message, you'll not only understand the energy behind his sudden return, but you'll also feel empowered to stay rooted in your truth. Because this shift isn't just about him chasing, it's about you rising. It's about reclaiming your wholeness, recognizing your worth, and allowing the universe to mirror that transformation in every relationship around you. If you're still here, it means this message is resonating with something deep inside you, something your mind may not fully understand, but your soul absolutely does. Take a moment to reflect. Have you felt this energetic shift in your own journey? Have you noticed the power of your silence, the strength in your detachment, or the way your healing has quietly transformed the dynamic? We'd love to hear from you. Share your story in the comments, or simply affirm it by typing, "I'm reclaiming my power." This isn't just a comment, it's a declaration to the universe, a reminder to yourself, and a signal that your energy is leading the way now. Let's continue, because what comes next will help you make sense of the emotional intensity you've been feeling lately, and how it all ties into the masculine's awakening. Number 2. The feminine's inner work. When devotion becomes power, you've walked a path that few truly understand, a path marked by devotion, heartbreak, and sacred surrender. You've sat alone with your pain, not just once, but countless times. You've cried in silence, wondered if you were ever truly seen, and asked yourself whether love, real love, would ever find its way back to you. You've questioned your worth, doubted your light, and still, you chose healing. Not because it was easy, not because it guaranteed results, but because your soul knew the journey inward was the only way forward. And through it all, you did the inner work, not flawlessly, not with perfection, but with raw honesty and open-hearted courage. You faced your shadows. You forgave what you once held on to. You released the desperate need to fix, to prove, to chase. You stopped asking the universe for constant signs, stopped craving messages, stopped begging for clarity, and somewhere along the way, something shifted. You came home to yourself. You no longer wait in longing. You no longer measure your progress by his silence or his absence. You're grounded in your own energy now, steady, whole, radiant, and ironically, almost magically, that's when the movement begins. He begins to return. The divine masculine who once ghosted, who once ran from his own feelings, starts to re-emerge. But this time, it's subtle. It may not come in grand gestures or poetic declarations. Instead, it arrives softly, like a ripple in the energy field, a sudden dream, a familiar pull, a message that feels casual on the surface. Hey, I've been thinking about you. But underneath those simple words is a profound energetic reversal, a shift in polarity, a sacred dance rebalancing itself. You, the one who once stood in the ache of waiting, have become the anchor, and he, the runner, begins to chase. Not just you, but the light he now feels radiating from your healed presence. This is not about revenge, ego, or power plays. It's about alignment. It's about energetic truth. And your inner work, your return to self, is the catalyst for the shift. Number 3, frequency over force, when your energy speaks louder than words. At first, it's bewildering. For so long, he seemed distant, untouched by the depth you felt, unaffected by the connection you carried in your heart. His silence felt like rejection, his detachment like a closed door. You convinced yourself he didn't feel it. But now, everything is shifting. Without warning, he's sensing something. Something he can't quite explain, but can no longer ignore. What's changed? You have. He's waking up not only to the truth of the connection, but to the undeniable fact that your energy is no longer waiting for him in the same place he left it. You've grown. You've risen. You've become something he never expected. Sovereign, steady, and untouchable in your own light. And it's not because you forced anything, it's because you aligned your frequency. This shift isn't about ego. It's not about him missing your presence out of comfort or routine. It's about energetic disparity. The more attuned and whole you've become within yourself, the more he feels the contrast between who he is and who you now are. Not intellectually, energetically. Because true frequency doesn't need to be explained, it simply is, and it vibrates through every interaction, every silence, every shared space. His journey required distance. It needed silence. It demanded time away so he could unravel his own illusions, run from himself, and discover what remains when nothing else makes sense. But your path was no less sacred. It required something far more difficult: presence. You stayed when he disappeared. You felt the void and chose to fill it, not with distractions, but with healing. You faced ancient wounds, abandonment, unworthiness, emotional neglect, and began rewriting your story without needing anyone to confirm it was worth telling. And now, your light doesn't ask for his attention. It doesn't reach for reassurance. It simply radiates. And that radiant frequency, he feels it, deeply. Even if he can't name it, even if he doesn't fully understand it, he senses the shift. He may not speak it aloud, but the masculine is more sensitive to the feminine's frequency than we often give him credit for. It touches something primal in him, ancient, awakening. This isn't force, this is resonance. And in this space of high frequency, everything changes, not because you pushed, but because you became. Imagine a woman named Eleanor. For years, she held space for a man who couldn't meet her emotionally. Every message she sent felt unanswered, every effort unnoticed. Eventually, she stopped trying, not out of bitterness, but because she began to pour that energy back into herself. She started journaling instead of texting him, meditating instead of waiting. She found joy in her own rhythm and peace in her own presence. Her glow changed, not louder, but lighter. She didn't block him or post to get his attention. She simply moved on inwardly. Months passed, and one evening, out of nowhere, he sent a message. "I don't know why, but I can't stop thinking about you lately." What he didn't realize is that he was feeling her frequency, not her effort. Her inner transformation created an energetic ripple that reached him without a single word. This is the power of alignment, not forcing, just becoming. And in that becoming, she drew him in, not through pursuit, but through presence. Number 4. The reversal begins. This is the moment everything starts to shift. The energy flips, and suddenly, the one who ran begins to chase. But here's where many divine feminines get caught in an old trap. Just because he starts reaching out doesn't mean it's time to fall back into the dynamic you once knew. This isn't about rekindling the past or picking up where things left off. This is about protecting the new frequency you've worked so hard to embody, the frequency born from your healing, your sovereignty, and your deep spiritual transformation. The reversal is not a reward for waiting. It's a reflection of the vibrational change you've made. And now, your task isn't to respond with old patterns, but to honor the new energy you've anchored within. You're no longer the version of yourself who needed his love to feel whole. You've become someone who can hold love, but not chase it. Someone who welcomes connection, but doesn't abandon herself to keep it. If he's returning because he's been activated, because your light woke up something dormant within him, then this could be the beginning of something sacred. But if he's chasing out of fear, guilt, loneliness, or a desperate need to reclaim what he lost, then the cycle will simply repeat. You'll find yourself back in the emotional maze you've already outgrown. This is why discernment is key. The real reunion doesn't come when he reaches out. It comes when both energies have evolved, when your healing inspires his, and when the connection rises to meet the truth of who you both are now. So instead of asking, "Is he back?" ask, "Has he grown?" And most importantly, have I remained aligned with the love I cultivated within myself? The reversal begins with him, but the reunion begins with you. Number 5. Why he ran in the first place. Before we can truly understand why the divine masculine begins to chase, we must return to the moment he ran, that heartbreak, that silence, that sense of abandonment. It may have felt sudden, even cruel, but it wasn't meaningless. It wasn't a reflection of your inadequacy. It was the activation of something much deeper, an ancient soul mechanism stirred by the divine nature of your connection. The bond between twin flames isn't simply a romantic pull. It's a sacred mirror, reflecting not only the highest form of love, but also the deepest layers of unhealed pain. When he met you, he didn't just meet a partner. He met a truth he wasn't prepared to face. Your energy, raw, open, emotionally present, called him to strip away the layers he'd spent a lifetime building to protect himself, but he wasn't ready to be seen in that way. Not yet. For many divine masculines, emotional intimacy is not familiar territory. They've been taught to survive by suppressing, by hiding, by performing strength instead of living it. So when he felt the pull toward you, the comfort, the sense of home, the powerful resonance, his nervous system didn't register it as love. It registered it as a threat to the identity he'd built around self-protection, a threat to the illusion that love could be controlled. He didn't run because he didn't care. He ran because he did. And the depth of his feeling exposed everything he didn't know how to hold. Your presence ignited not only desire but dormant shame, unspoken guilt, and buried fear. To stay would have meant confronting those parts of himself, and at that time, he didn't yet have the emotional tools, or spiritual readiness to rise to that task. So he chose distance, not because he wanted to lose you, but because he didn't know how to keep you without losing the version of himself he'd always known. Understanding why he ran gives meaning to the pain. It transforms rejection into revelation, because it was never about your worth. It was always about his readiness. Number 6. Survival response and emotional walls. When he ran, it wasn't always logical. It was primal, instinctual, a deeply ingrained survival response. His nervous system didn't interpret your love as safety. It perceived it as a threat. Not because your love was harmful, but because it demanded a level of vulnerability, truth, and emotional exposure he had never known before. So he retreated, to distractions, to other people, to patterns of control. He told himself you were too much, too intense, too emotional, too present. But that story was a shield, because the truth is, he wasn't running from you. He was running from the version of himself that your love was calling forward, the man he was not yet ready to become. You didn't break him. You awakened him. And awakenings aren't always gentle. They often come with resistance, fear, and an overwhelming sense of unworthiness. So instead of leaning in, he pulled away, not out of malice, but out of a desperate attempt to maintain a sense of control in a space where his emotional defenses began to collapse. Now, if he returns, there will be a part of you that wants to exhale, to welcome him back and pretend the heartbreak never happened. But this is where your sacred discernment must come in. Your task is not to forget the pain or abandon the boundaries you forged in your healing. Your task is to remember, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. To hold space for who you've become, not just for who he might now be. If he's coming back, let it be because something within him has truly awakened. Not because you chased, convinced, or waited, but because you released him with love and returned to yourself. That letting go, that surrender, was never weakness. It was power. And that power is what stirred something in him to rise. So let his return not be the destination, but the test. Has he come back to meet you where you are now, or to pull you back into who you once were? If you've made it this far, it's because your soul is resonating with the deeper truth beneath these words. You're not just listening, you're remembering, and that remembrance is sacred. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever experienced this kind of emotional reversal? The kind that forces you to grow, to let go, and to reclaim yourself? If so, we'd love to hear your story in the comments. Or, if you're not ready to share details, simply type the affirmation, "I honor my healing and trust the timing." Let it be a vow to yourself, a reminder that your journey is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. Number 7. The moment he feels her absence. There is a kind of silence that doesn't signal emptiness. It vibrates with power, presence, and profound energetic shifts. It is the silence born not from punishment, but from transformation. When the divine feminine finally stops chasing, when she no longer clings, waits, or sends energy in his direction, he feels it. Not always consciously, but in the energetic realm, it hits him like a wave. Her love, once flowing toward him like a gentle current, has quieted. That cord, once filled with energetic offerings, unspoken affirmations, forgiveness, emotional tending, has gone still. He may not have the language to explain it, but suddenly, her absence surrounds him. It's not loud, it doesn't beg, but it unsettles him. It echoes in his body, in his thoughts, in his emotions. When she was energetically holding the space, he felt tethered, safe, even if he didn't acknowledge it. But when she pulls back, not out of bitterness or resentment, but from soul alignment and inner peace, something profound happens. He's left alone in the mirror of himself. He begins to wonder, why can't I stop thinking about her? The ache that rises now is no longer hers, it's his. And the beauty of this shift is that her absence is not a tactic, it's not manipulation, it's not a game. It is the purest form of truth. It's the vibrational release of emotional caretaking. She has stepped into her sovereignty, and in doing so, she no longer holds emotional space for a man who hasn't yet learned to hold it for himself. And in that paradox, something sacred unfolds. The more she stops tending to him, the more her presence grows within him. The more he feels her, not because she's reaching out, but because she's gone. Gone from the old dynamic. Gone from the role of healer, fixer, or energetic provider. Her stillness speaks louder than any words ever could. That's when he begins to awaken, not to chase the woman he remembers, but to finally meet the woman he never truly saw. Number 8. Surrender as sacred power. Surrender is so often misunderstood. It isn't weakness, and it's certainly not about giving up. True, surrender is a sacred, conscious act, an energetic decision to stop chasing and start trusting. It's the moment you release control, not because you don't care, but because you finally realize that trying to force the outcome only creates resistance. You stop gripping so tightly, and in doing so, you allow the universe to move in ways your mind couldn't predict. When you surrender, you shift timelines. You no longer operate from lack, fear, or need. Instead, you become whole within yourself, radiant, grounded, and complete. That wholeness is magnetic. It speaks louder than words, louder than action. It draws in everything aligned with your new frequency, because love isn't attracted to desperation, it's attracted to embodiment. You don't manifest true union by begging for it. You become it. You radiate it. You live it. This is the divine feminine's quiet revolution. Her return to power doesn't come from pursuing, it comes from becoming, from ceasing to orbit around his energy and stepping fully into her own. She is no longer the seeker. She is the sun. And in that brilliance, she no longer needs to explain her love, prove her worth, or chase a future. Number 9. What awakens the masculine? What truly awakens the divine masculine is not your effort. It's not your constant presence, your love, your waiting, or your emotional labor. Ironically, it is the absence of your energy that stirs his soul. The moment you pull back, not out of spite, but from deep alignment and self-love, you create a sacred void, and it's within that void that something profound happens. He feels the loss, not just of a person, but of a frequency. Your healing presence, once silently stabilizing his inner chaos, is no longer there. The energy that held space for him, forgave him, and believed in his potential is gone. And that silence becomes louder than any words you ever spoke. Suddenly, your voice echoes in his mind, your essence lingers, your soul becomes unforgettable. And then the question arises from within him. What if I ran from the very thing I've been searching for all along? This is his moment of reckoning, his soul's initiation. He now stands at a crossroads. He can shut down again, retreat into numbing distractions and emotional avoidance, or he can rise. He can step into the discomfort, the mirror, the truth. But if he chooses awakening, know this. It is not because you tried harder, it's because you stopped trying. It's because you stopped being his emotional crutch and became his reflection. Not the rescuer, but the mirror. And mirrors don't chase, they reveal. Number 10. When he realizes he can't replace her. He tried to replace you, not to hurt you, but to escape the intensity of what he felt with you. The depth of your connection frightened him because it asked him to grow, to rise, to be seen in ways he wasn't ready for. So, he turned to distractions, surface-level connections, temporary comfort, familiar patterns. For a while, it worked. He convinced himself that he could move on, that what you shared was just another chapter. But then something shifted. Every laugh that didn't echo yours felt shallow. Every hand he held lacked the warmth, the knowing, the soul-deep presence that only you brought. No matter how many faces he looked into, none of them saw him the way you did. Because you didn't just love the man he was, you loved the king hidden inside the boy. You called out his higher self, and that terrified him more than rejection ever could. Now, no substitute can fill the space you once held, not in his mind, not in his heart, not in his soul. He begins to realize that you weren't just someone he loved. You were the one who awakened him, the one who met him soul first, the one who mirrored the man he could become. And that kind of love, it's not forgettable, It's soul-defining. If this part of the message resonates with you, if you've ever felt the ache of being irreplaceable but unseen, know that you're not alone. Your love wasn't in vain. It left an imprint that no substitute can erase, and sometimes it's in your absence that the greatest awakening begins. If this speaks to your soul, take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts in the comments, or simply type, "My love is unforgettable." Let that be your affirmation. And if you're finding value in this journey, don't forget to like the video. It helps this message reach more hearts who need it. Now, let's move into what happens when he finally begins to see the truth. Number 11. Holding your frequency when he returns. So, he comes back. Maybe it starts with a quiet message, a comment on an old post, or a sudden reappearance in your dreams. Or perhaps he returns boldly, knocking at the door of your energy with intensity you once begged for. But no matter how it unfolds, the real question isn't why he's back. It's who you are now that he has returned. His return is not the grand finale. It's not a reward, not a finish line, and certainly not the validation of your worth. It's the beginning of a new spiritual initiation, a deeper test. One that asks, can you hold the frequency you cultivated in his absence? Can you remain anchored in your truth, your power, your self-respect, even in the presence of the one you once lost yourself for? Because the truth is, his return can stir old energies, memories, fears, doubts. The parts of you that once craved his attention might try to resurface. But you are not that woman anymore. You are no longer here to chase, to shrink, or to prove your value. You've done the soul work. You've shed the skin of survival and stepped into the radiance of your sovereignty. Now, you receive, not because you're desperate, but because you are aligned. You welcome the connection, not to fill a void, but to expand your joy. You listen deeply, but you also speak with clarity. You feel with openness, but you no longer abandon yourself in the process. This is what divine love looks like. Rooted, conscious, balanced. Love without self-honor is not sacred. It's sacrifice. And that's not your story anymore. You've become the woman who no longer dims her light for anyone's comfort. The woman who doesn't trade authenticity for attachment. He's not returning to the version of you who tolerated breadcrumbs. He's returning to the woman who rose from the ashes, whole, luminous, and sovereign. That's the energy that sustains a true union, not the chase, not the fantasy, but the embodiment of your highest self. And if you can hold your frequency now, you don't just reunite, you rewrite the entire dynamic. Number 12. Sacred guidance. This journey is anything but straight. It doesn't unfold in predictable steps or follow a neat timeline. It spirals. It weaves in and out of your heart, stretching your soul in ways you never expected. Some days feel like breakthroughs, others feel like echoes, but each moment is sacred. Each experience is carving you into something more refined, more radiant, and more aligned with your essence. You are not chasing. That era is over. You are magnetizing, calling in what matches your frequency, without force, without fear. You are not waiting, you are becoming. Every breath, every tear, every breakthrough has led you deeper into your divine feminine power. The stillness wasn't stagnation, it was sacred preparation. The silence wasn't punishment, it was alignment in disguise. Whether reunion comes tomorrow, years from now, or in another lifetime entirely, your role has never been in vain. You are not here to force destiny, you are here to embody it. You are the mirror that reveals truth. You are the healer who transforms pain into power. You are the presence that awakens his soul, not through control, but through your vibration. You hold the frequency of remembrance, the energy that whispers, "Come home to yourself," and that is your greatest power. Trust this. What is meant for you will never miss you, not because you waited in longing, but because you rose in love. You rose in strength. You rose in truth. You became the version of yourself that doesn't chase what's already yours by divine design. The universe responds not to desperation, but to embodiment. So let your life be the prayer, let your growth be the offering, and know that when you walk your sacred path, everything aligned with your highest good must eventually find you, not by chance, but by frequency. Now, beautiful soul, take a moment and breathe in everything you've just felt. What part of this message echoed in your heart? Was it a truth you've been quietly carrying, a feeling you've been afraid to name, or perhaps a sacred reminder that even in your waiting you've been rising? If you're holding the frequency for someone you still love, or perhaps for the version of yourself you're becoming, know that you are not alone. There are women all over the world walking this same invisible path. Your story, your voice, your vulnerability could be the light someone else needs to find their way home. So I invite you to share it in the comments, even just a few words. Start by writing, "I am holding the frequency." Let that be your affirmation, your prayer, your declaration. And if this message stirred something real in you, don't let it end here. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear these words. And be sure to stay with us. Watch the next video just below the screen, because this journey we're on, it's sacred, it's unfolding, and it's only just beginning. You are held in this space. You are seen in your strength. And above all, you are deeply, endlessly loved.